If you eat foods that are naturally grown, without preservatives, without all the chemicals, your body will begin to feel right. Because we subscribe to a belief level. We do it in every single facet of life. But the minute we start talking about religion, it gets oppressive. Yeah. Why? Well, why? And I think that's what's happening in culture. Because they prescribe maybe, to a different belief level of what love is. Love is defined, Corinthians 13, we all know. Sure. Love is kind, love is pure, love is gracious. That's it. Love there's not a word in it that says agreement. Mm-hmm. And what culture will say as they redefine love is, well, you can't love me because you don't agree with me. Mm-hmm. And that's hard. That's the immediate thing I think about is the difference of who's defining love. Mm-hmm. It's already defined. Yeah. I don't have to define it. Good.
I think it's romanticized, right? Like the idea of love is romanticized to where if I love someone or if they love me, it's going to make me feel good.
Right.
And so if there's anything that doesn't make me feel good, well, then that can't be love.
We believe that you are strong by design, and you were made in God's image to have a strong body, mind, and spirit. You're listening to the #1 Strength and Health Authority podcast in the world. So let's get ready to unlock your potential and transform your life in today's episode. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Strong by Design podcast. We're sitting out here in the compound today. We need a little bit more space for our extra special, amazing guest. And Jared and I are co-hosting from the love seat, which is very fitting.
Right.
When you agree?
100%.
Which is,
I'm just gonna.
Well, whatever you got to do. I'm gonna kind of squeeze. I'm gonna squeeze into the right side here,
to the armrest.
Take as much room as you need. Today's a really special day. It's a long time coming to get the pastor of my church here at Critical Bench. And so I'm super excited to get to know him better and for you to get to know him because what he's doing in our Tampa Bay community is pretty fantastic. So before we get to our special guest, I would like to say thank you so much for following the podcast, for supporting us, and for sharing episodes that you've listened to with friends and family. That's how our show continues to grow and reach more people, is just through organic sharing and giving ratings and reviews, which we love to see, we love to read, and we appreciate those so very much. So please continue to keep those coming in. For both Jared episodes. You can give him like 4 stars, and then you can go 5 stars when I host.
That's rough.
Do the guests get stars?
Kind of rough.
Do the guests get stars?
Yeah, okay. Absolutely.
I'm 5 stars.
You're 5 stars. I would actually encourage you actually go in when this releases and give it a rating and review.
Maybe
that's what we should have.
Maybe on Sunday.
I just say a little.
You just say, "Hey, I'm going to be on a podcast. It would be really helpful if you go and give it 5 stars."
That would be awesome. Just before I read anything, talk or anything. Look, guys, I was on this podcast, and apparently I'm 1-star guy.
Yeah.
However,
you guys know I'm better than that.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, you guys are something else. So, our special guest today, Pastor Mark Quattrochi.
That's it.
And I think I nailed it.
So good.
But he's also known as PQ or Pastor Q lovingly by his congregation and everyone who knows him. He's such a warm and friendly man, and I'm just so honored to have you here. Thank you so much for traveling here and coming to sit with us because, about 6 months ago, I started reaching out to your team to try and make this happen. And knowing you're so very busy with the church and coming into summer and you take a little bit of time off, and I'm like, eventually it'll happen. So I wasn't picky and choosy about when. I'm like, I just got to get the conversation going. So thank you for being here.
Absolutely, man. Love being here. Honored to be here. We're gonna have a great time. And
I think so.
It did take a little bit of time, and I felt so bad, but it's so worth it.
It is so worth it. So you are the pastor of the chapel, a church in Trinity, Florida. It's in the greater Tampa area, and the church, I want to just know a little bit more about your story, if in a nutshell version, of your coming to faith and you kind of taking on this role as a pastor, how that kind of came to be and the story behind the chapel. I've been going there. I started going in the old building before we moved into the new beautiful building. But I don't know as much as I'd like to about your personal story.
Yeah, and your kids are getting older now, right? right? I
So
mean,
my son's 12,
Yeah, so-
major baseball player, and my daughter's 8.
Right.
But started coming about 4 years ago.
I was going to say they were really young. And Samantha, your wife Samantha,
My wife is Samantha.
Doesn't she work in the medical field?
She does.
I don't know why I remember.
Wow.
Because I thought I talked to you guys before in the foyer at some point in the old. I thought I did, but
You may have.
Yeah.
My wife she was a veterinary nurse for 20 years, and she's an RN now.
Okay.
She switched roles, which was an amazing thing to do in our mid 40s.
Sure,
but
well, and that's part of
worth
that. What's interesting is that's part of the story. I spent 20. I'm originally from Brooklyn, New York. Grew up in Brooklyn, and always wanted to be one or two things my whole life. That was it. I wanted to be a baseball player, or I wanted to be a rock star.
Wow.
So that's all I ever wanted to do.
You're doing it.
When I said
Living the dream.
Some would say
You're doing
typical pastor, rock star. Thank you for that, Jared. But that is the truth. That's what people think. But from my standpoint, from being a rock star, it wasn't so much the fame or the glory. It was I was a music guy. I just loved, absolutely still do, music. And I was a very less than mediocre baseball player. So in high school, played in high school, but then winded up pursuing the music career. And so I worked at Warner Brothers for 23 years.
Oh my gosh.
In New York, and then transferred to Nashville. And it just so happened that when I transferred to Nashville, it was also the big boom of the Christian music industry when they were, there was a big crossover thing back in the day. It used to be just gospel. Now they're crossing over to mainstream radio. Well, because I didn't grow up necessarily Christian in a sense of a daily relationship with God, I had a background in music because I played my whole life. And was at Warner Brothers, but they were like, aren't you like some kind of Christian guy or something? Because the record company at that point at Warner was literally run by all Jewish people, which is still almost to this day. And I was like the token Christian guy. And I was like, well, yeah, I mean, kinda. And so they would go, well, we got this division now, and it's called gospel music, and they're really doing, so why don't you kind of like help oversee? So that's how I kind of transferred into a music career. I toured for 6 years for a lot of different artists, and then started working at the record company, and then was transferred to Nashville and was there 17 years in Nashville working at Warner Brothers.
Wow. And what musically were you what were you playing?
When I toured, I played guitar. Wow. So I played guitar for a lot of different artists, and then went to I love the idea of collaboration. I still do. We do a lot of it in the ministry that I'm in now. I love collaborating. So that's really, I was an A&R director, and then when I left Warner, I was vice president of artist development. And so what happened was it's all collaborative. You pull in a great team like you guys do here, right? I mean, you pull in a team, you kind of bring people around your weaknesses. That's what I did for 20-something years. And it was just a life led without boundaries, I like to say. And so I did get married to a beautiful woman that I'm still currently married to now for over 34 years. It was great. We did 2 kids. We lived in Nashville. But because you live a life without appropriate boundaries, there comes consequences to that, whether it's personal, whether it's relational, spiritual, whatever it is. And so my wife was a good old Baptist girl from Texas. She's the Texas girl. And she's tough. She's mighty. She's like a little mighty mouse. You know what I mean? But she's awesome. And she was going to a church in Nashville, and I wasn't. I mean, I kind of knew God, but not really. And that pastor, 30-something years ago, said, "Listen, if you'll honor your marriage, God will bless you." And I never really went to church a whole lot. I grew up Catholic, had a great Catholic experience in Brooklyn, and even a little bit in Nashville, and I did. And I prioritized my marriage, and I took a lot less responsibility at the record company, took a lot less responsibility on the road to salvage my marriage because of my lack of boundaries. And my family. And from that, I really felt like God was slowly kind of moving me into professional, what I call, we're all in ministry as Christians to a certain level, but professionally moving me into professional ministry. And so that's how I went from a music career over 20 years to being in the professional ministry. Was a pastor just went, "Hey man, you got to prioritize the right things in your life." It was very difficult because that's all I ever knew. I've never done anything else. I played in the Miller High Life band. We toured bars and played top 40 music, and I did that for 3 years.
So you did do the rock star thing. I mean, there's no question about it.
You're making $30 at night, but free long necks. That some would see that as rock star. Yes,
Sure.
but then toured with artists and did that and loved it. And again, did it just because I'm a music guy. I love stinking music, but I also love when it's done in a healthy way, the collaborative nature of what music does. You know what I mean? That's really what I fell in love with. I love building teams and I love collaboration between different entities and people. Wow. So, but I just think it's a testament to honoring, like we talk about here on this podcast all the time, like you guys do, is honoring God's word, but still being in the marketplace, whether you're in the marketplace or professional ministry, it's honoring the way you're designed. And we were designed to give a commitment, to a woman, you know what I mean, as a man, and honor that, even though you make mistakes. Thank God for his grace, but also thank God for his strength, because things need to change.
That's right.
And so my family was honored and blessed because of it. And then went into now been in ministry, professional ministry, as long as I was in the music business.
That's
I know it's hard to believe because I only look 22.
I was going to say, you really
because I
only
look
look
really good.
I pegged you at 34, but
and just because I ate a big breakfast.
Gotcha.
But if I would have just ate a power bar,
right,
I'd look 25.
I would say so. I could agree with that, especially closer up, because I usually see you from further away.
Yeah.
Closer up, you've gotten younger.
I just want to brag. I just want to brag.
Do you know, is Chris a front row seater or a back row seater?
I think he's mid. I think
He's
he's
a
mid.
mid?
I think
I'm a mid.
Him,
I'm a mid.
I know what I'm doing. I know. I see you.
You've seen me
I've
before?
seen not a whole lot now because we're in a different building. But
that's
now,
true.
but you're a mid. You're a mid seater.
I'm a mid seater.
You don't want to be in the front because
I
that's
usually
where.
try to sit. Do you know who Chris?
It's a
Chris
section.
Mokheiber? Do you know the
No,
Mokheibers? Okay. I know you know who Rick Garwood is.
Rick
That's
is
actually how I first came to know about. Well, through Chris Mokheiber, I coached baseball with him.
Yeah.
But then I was doing, during COVID, I was doing all those at-home men's groups at Rick's house for months.
Yeah, Rick's group. Yeah, men's group. His men's group. He's got a couple of different groups.
He does,
but
I was going right to sitting in his driveway, in COVID and stuff. And that's when I was really kind of getting involved with going to the chapel
That's
and
awesome.
stuff. But
Yeah.
what was before we get into obviously the kind of the subject matter for today, what was the coolest venue that you ever played when you were in the music career? Like if there's something that comes to mind, you're like, that was so awesome.
Yeah, Red Rocks.
Red Rocks.
Yep.
Denver.
Colorado. Yeah.
Colorado Red Rocks. And it wasn't necessarily the size of the venue. It was the uniqueness of the venue because obviously it's in a cleft. It's phenomenal if you've never been to Red Rocks.
Naturally, it's like amplified because of the rocks, and it's kind of like a place that they found.
You're sitting like kind of down, right? And everybody kind of
the stage. Yeah. So it's up.
Yeah.
The angle.
Old school, like pre-technology kind of amphitheater feel.
That, and then in the back, everybody assigned the wall. The backstage, any artist. It doesn't matter whether you're famous or not. Everybody always just signs the wall.
Wow.
And so that was, I think, and I was blown away because I love the collaborative nature. I was blown away by the sonics of the venue because it is almost like a natural occurrence how well the venue sounds. Wow. So that's one of them. And then I was fortunate way back many years, played Madison Square Garden.
Oh my goodness!
It was the most horrible venue. Sound was horrible. The traffic's terrible. The food's terrible. The back room is terrible. Everything, but it's iconic. Yeah. It's Madison Square Garden. It's just absolutely iconic. So that for two different reasons, those are the only always two venues that I always talk about because Red Rocks is just beautiful. Wow. And then Madison Square, it's just an icon.
Awesome.
Yeah, very, very cool stuff.
So I wanted to dig into this topic. Yeah. There were some different ways I wanted to go with our conversation, but this seems like a recurring theme in today's culture where people are always looking for approval for everything that they do. Yeah. And they think that love is defined by approving and accepting everyone's whim and everyone's desires. And I wanted to kind of dig into that a little bit and kind of get into scripture about how it's really not that way at all. Right. And that love, quite often, if you think about it with your child, you don't approve of everything that your child does. In fact, a lot of things that they're doing are possibly dangerous or just it's a bad decision. And because you love them, you step in the way of that. You stand in the way of that being a good choice. And so I wanted to kind of talk from different perspectives what that looks like with children, in our marriage, with our congregation, and with our culture today. Is there anything that kind of that jumps out at you when you first think of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think right now what culture is doing is redefining what love is. I think culture is just redefining what love is. And
I think they already have.
Well, I was going to say, and it continues to evolve.
Yeah.
The definition continues to evolve. Mm-hmm. So what's happening is their definition, culture, is going to vary from people who believe different things. So if you just take the not argument, but the discussion between Christians and people who not necessarily they know about Jesus, but they don't have a personal relationship, it's just whatever, that's casual, let's say. Their definition of love is not defined by the Bible. Their definition of love might be defined by whatever it is. It could be their emotions, their feeling, their background, their own religion, whatever. So what happens is you have a split because we're not dealing with the same thing. I believe life is defined by design. That designer is Christ. That's why I love being here, that's the idea. So if you don't adhere to that, we're automatically going to be opposed. Not negative, not hate each other. See, and there's the key.
Yeah.
We have opposing views because I subscribe to this. You subscribe to this. Okay. I had a great conversation with somebody the other day in terms of love. They felt like God was releasing them from their marriage. Right. And I was like, okay, tell me.
All the signs were kind of pointing to
the signs. I was talking to this guy, great guy, good guy. I got to get out. What? Okay, just tell me why. Well, she doesn't understand me. Married 4 years. Well, of course you don't understand. It takes a lifetime. I'm married 34 years. I just found out something 2 weeks ago. I didn't know. And it's not a negative, but I got to navigate it. That's why I always tell people, just because you have to navigate it doesn't mean it's a negative. It's just, you got to navigate that. And so what he's doing is he's like, well, I believe there's your mistake. I believe. There it was right there. No, just tell me, let's go back. As a Christian, let's go back to the word. What does the word say? Decipher, discern the word, blah, blah, blah. And I would argue that we do this in life all the time. I want to get better from a health standpoint. So what do? Is there are attributes, there are things that we would do. So we would change our eating, we would exercise more, Why? Because we subscribe to the belief that if you eat food, we were just talking about this earlier, that if you eat foods that are naturally grown, without preservatives, without all the chemicals, your body will begin to feel right. Because we subscribe to a belief level.
That's right.
There it is. It's this. We do it in every single facet of life. But the minute we start talking about religion, it gets oppressive. Yeah. Why?
Yeah.
Why? And I think that's what's happening in culture. They're defining love and continue. That was like Jared said. They're doing it now, but they're continuing to do it because they prescribe maybe, to a different belief level of what love is. When we talk about love is defined. Corinthians 13. We all know Love is kind, love is pure, love is gracious. That's it. Love there's not a word in it that says agreement. And what culture will say as they redefine love is, well, you can't love me because you don't agree with me. And that's hard. That's the immediate thing I think about is the different of who's defining love. It's already defined. Yeah. I don't have to define it. Good.
I think it's romanticized, right? Like the idea of love is romanticized to where if I love someone or if they love me, it's going to make me feel good.
Right.
And so if there's anything that doesn't make me feel good, well, then that can't be love. And that's obviously not true. Because there's lots of things, you can speak truth to somebody and you do that in love. You can be as nice as you want. It might not feel good, to hear what they have to say.
Right.
The hope is, as believers that we're doing it in such a way that we are speaking God's truth. But obviously God is truth. So when he tells us something's true, it's not up to me to, whether I believe it or agree with it or not, doesn't make it true or not.
Right.
And
exactly
love, I like that you brought, I know it's a popular scripture, but it's something that it's absolutely true regardless of if you prescribe to it or not.
Right. Exactly right. Yeah. It was either C.S. Lewis or Sigmund Freud. I know, what a weirdness right there. But that said, all truth is God's truth. Whether it comes out of in the Bible, whether it comes out of a donkey or an ass, which some would say, I hear it every Sunday from this pastor.
I've been called that before.
But all truth is God's truth. Truth is truth. And you know what I always tell people is remember how Jesus is described in the Bible is not just truth, although absolutely it's grace and truth.
Yeah.
That's right.
Grace and truth, not raw. Because when people hear truth, you know, growing up as an 80s child, you know, let's go Motley Crue. Anyway, growing up in the 80s, it was, you know, a lot of the radical Christians were bombing abortion clinics because they were standing on truth, raw. You know what I mean? But they had no grace. And so grace opens up the heart, you know what I mean, to allow the truth of God into the heart, you know. So one without the other is meaningless. You know,
another piece of that too. I did read your notes. I promise.
No, listen. Notes are just simple guidelines. We can go anywhere we want.
I always pull up the it's the Pirates of the Caribbean. They're more like guidelines than actual rules. You know?
What a great line. That's what I'm saying. When we talk about God getting into a character.
That's right. Yeah, dude, so good. But man. Continue on because I don't remember.
You lost your train of thought?
It'll come back to me.
You went pirate.
I did. I went pirate and I lost it.
And gone. I don't care what anybody says.
What's that?
I said because he's sexy.
You were talking about Johnny Depp.
Johnny Depp. The minute he started talking about Johnny Depp, he lost his train of thought.
I lost my train of thought. Yeah, I got lost in his eyes in my head or something.
Oh my gosh! I'm just thinking Edward Scissorhands.
It was a little more creepy.
Again, another
bit creepy there.
Not as creepy as Willy Wonka.
He was creepy.
That Chocolate Factory, it was It was like at moments I was like acting brilliance, and then at other moments I'm like, I think he really is that guy. It freaks me out a little bit.
I'm telling you, when they own these characters as well as they do, like Al Pacino, like that is Al Pacino, like on screen. You know, you're a nut job.
The line that we pull from Willy Wonka that we always use on our children is we'll say, Mumbler, quit mumbling. I can't understand you. We say that to our kids all the time.
What has made my marriage so successful is I say that to my wife. She'll say that, and I'll go, Mumbler.
Yeah.
And then
I'm sure that works great.
No, it works great. Such an aphrodisiac.
How's your couch?
It's such an aphrodisiac for later on.
Is the couch at your house comfortable? Or?
Exactly. That's why I'm here. That's why I drove here for the podcast.
The couch in the guest room. Getting a lot of use these days. Unbelievable.
So good.
That's great. See, now you got me thinking Willy Wonka. Well, you're still trying to think about what you were trying to say.
No, it's going to be good.
I'm a huge Gene Wilder fan.
Oh, gosh.
So the original Willy Wonka was like my favorite movie growing up, besides probably like Wizard of Oz and Terminator or something.
And most people don't realize how much he has really written. I mean, we know a lot about the Blazing Saddles. And all those movies,
gosh.
But he also was an incredible writer for a ton, co-writer on the movie Spinal Tap.
Oh,
you know
wow.
I mean?
I didn't know that.
Great movie.
Oh,
it's
gosh.
a great movie. Phenomenal.
What's his name?
Well, Michael McKean, but what's his, why can't I think?
He was in All in the Family. They called him Meathead.
Bob, no.
Saget.
No, not him.
No, the boyfriend. He was the boyfriend. He was the boyfriend. Why can't I think of his name right now?
Mike. It was. His name was Mike, but it was.
Yeah. It'll come to us.
Okay,
we'll get it right at the end.
Now I'm
it'll
freaked
come
out.
I
can't continue.
I know.
I'm going to have to go bench press.
No. Batman's looking at us.
It's just intimidating.
It is very intimidating.
If the podcast
you
listeners
came up with
and viewers...
He came back. I knew if we...
Oh my gosh.
I knew if we burned
so
enough minutes.
I know. Go ahead.
Get it out before you forget.
Just this idea of disagreement, and that if we disagree on something, well, now we can't have a relationship.
Right.
So you're talking about love and grace and how they go together.
Yeah.
And what grace does is it opens up the ability for us to have a friendship, and I'm saying like not a romantic relationship, but just a relationship with someone and a good friendship with somebody where you can actually love each other and not actually agree with each other. And without the grace piece, that doesn't happen.
Exactly right. And that is where most disagreements culturally, that is where most disagreements relationally is, because we're operating from a different definition of what love is, or we're operating from a different depth level. I think it's good to be reminded that not because I love you doesn't mean you are as close or as intimate with me as everyone else. There are stages. There are different degrees of love.
That's the kind of the downfall of the English language, right?
Right.
Is that we only have one word for love as opposed to
three,
right. There's
four,
agape love.
There's all
right.
this philia, there's all this different, and I think that's important to remember. And that's part of the reason why a lot of people feel as though the Bible isn't relevant, because there are typically between the Hebrew language and the Greek language, Hebrew being Old Testament, let's say, and then Greek being New Testament, there are probably anywhere between 4,000 and 6,000 more words in both those languages than there are in the English language.
Wow.
And so when people read it, it's easy to not contextualize. Sure. It's easy to misinterpret. And some stuff is easy. Thou shalt not murder. You don't need a theology degree to get that. However, to get the true meaning and the depth of that, you got to do a little bit more digging.
Because you can do it in here too.
Of course,
right?
and you do it in your mind, your heart. You can murder somebody, you know what I mean, metaphorically. But we don't do that because it might be too much work, or it's painful to do the work, like going back to our point before.
Right.
But what I have found for me personally in any area of my life, every single thing that I want is always beyond my comfort zone.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny?
It's always beyond I want the best marriage. Well, you know what? It hurt. I had to change a lot. But it took me out of my comfort zone. You know, I would like to pastor a church that concentrates on X, Y, Z, whatever it is, right? Well, I got to really change. That's self-leadership, good leadership. I've got to calculate. I've got to navigate that. It's always outside of my comfort zone. I've found that all the time.
Just heard that recently. It was a sports figure. I can't remember. It might have even been like Deion Sanders from Colorado. So
he's getting a lot of
he's getting a lot of love.
Attention. Good old Deion.
But he was talking about growing in sports.
Right.
Like in order to get better in your sport, you have to put your body into places of discomfort. I mean, that's fitness, right? Like if you're not feeling it the next day, you probably didn't do the work the day before.
Exactly.
Which is why I feel great every day.
Isn't that funny? Like relationally, it's the same thing. We tell our staff all the time, is that we call them grace growers. So you guys, you know, everybody has, if you're running an organization, you're an entrepreneur, whether you have a small staff, large staff, doesn't matter. The idea is we tend to want to get rid of people that rub us the wrong way, annoy us, and blah, blah, blah. But when I read the scriptures, what happens is the Lord redirects that issue to that, we call it grace growers. These are people that are grace growers in my life. I have to really, really exercise patience with this relationship. I have to really, really exercise kindness. I have to really exercise understanding. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then what is it doing? It's growing me. What we typically do is go, let me tell you about that guy. That guy's so annoying. And he's and look, I spent so many years in the marketplace and now so many years in professional ministry. The bottom line is, sure, if it continues and there's no vibe and there's no flow, it could be a non-fit. But we're not meant to vilify other people.
That's right.
We're not. We're meant to lift them up. Yeah. We're meant to complete them. We're meant to accentuate their life with maybe our gifts. But we tend to just push all that away when in reality, they are making me better.
That's right. I feel like it's the start of wisdom. And I didn't realize this until probably the last 5 to 10 years, that when I'm in those moments, it's really hard to see them for what they are, as opportunities of growth, right, rather than just living in the the frustration of the moment or the anger of the moment. I'm now starting to realize, like, that's God just saying, Chris, this is your chance, dude. I'm giving you a shot right here.
That's so awesome. Exactly right.
Grow that fuse a little longer, to not be so irritated at your kid for this.
Glad that God brought me into your life to help.
Well, I'm telling you what, you've been such an irritant to me for 2 years. But see, I've grown to love you.
I'm still here.
I can tell because Jared's your grace grower.
That's right. He's your grace grower. That's right.
He's making you exercise your understanding and patience muscle. See, he has a reason to exist.
Purpose.
They know. I mean, these guys know me well. We were around each other a lot, and they know where my weaknesses are and the things I need to work out.
We've learned Chris's buttons.
He's also, I know you've come in to talk to me, and I'm not sitting at my desk. I'm kneeling at my desk, starting my morning and looking for the true power source. Right. And I can hear footsteps, but I'm like, whoever it is just realizes Chris is on his knees because he's plugging in right now. And he knows I'm trying.
Right.
So if he knows I'm having a bad day or whatever, then
it's weird though when I
leave Chris alone. He's
when
having a bad day.
When I sit down and I just stare at you. That's the weird part.
That's the weird part.
That's
the weird part. Or when he comes into the office with food in his hand to do a fist bump at the same time, and I'm like, and then he spills food on my desk.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude,
I
you
don't
can't
do that.
a fist bump with food in your hand.
If I do that, it's because Mike put me up to it.
Only a grace grower does that.
That's right.
Now I'm like, food in my office.
My first ministry job, I was lead music at a church in Denver.
Wow, okay.
And there was a guy that love that term, by the way, grace grower.
Right.
My mom was the one actually who spoke wisdom into me, and her response was, no matter where you go, you're going to have people in your life that are like this. And I've been all over the place, and it's true. Everywhere you go, it's like you identify the same people that were over in the last place that you're at. It's really interesting.
Here's another one of these.
Yeah. And, but it's true. And that's what she told me. She said, you have to learn to work, like God is giving you the opportunity to learn how to work with this type of person so that you're able to do that throughout the rest of your ministry career.
And you know what's funny about, what great wisdom, right? Mom.
Yeah, thanks,
that.
Mom.
Right.
I know that you listened to it twice, so
That's right.
I appreciate you.
So listen to that beautiful compliment twice. People ask me, you talk with a lot of different people. I'm in a lot of different circles, and I'll always point to one of the things that helped me learn how to navigate, say things differently instead of just, was my wife. We were so polar opposites in the beginning. We had a very tumultuous marriage first 6 years. We've been married 34 now. Things are great. Grandkids, kids are married.
Congratulations, by the way. I know you just had a grandbaby a couple months
ago. Gia Gabrielle. So Gia Gabrielle Quattrochi, so she's in the mafia. She didn't even know it yet. But the reality is because she was so opposite, my Brooklyn nature, straight ahead, black and white, boom, 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 would not work for her because it shut her down. So I had to learn to craft words, not use words, use certain words, use them at different times of the day, use different sentences, speak slower, talk faster. Because of my desire to have the healthiest marriage, the grace grower in my life, like you were saying, Jared, about your mom, was, hey, this is God. I've given you the opportunity to really learn to speak differently because I have a plan for you. Yeah. I do want you to speak to a bunch of diverse. All I did for 20-something years was talk to creatives and artists. That's all I've done. And then I had to learn, well, that's not everybody who attends a church. Great if they do, but it should be diverse. So I had to learn how to talk that way. So was my wife. But I could have alienated her because she don't understand me. She doesn't get it. She can't operate on my level. She doesn't. Yeah. But instead, and I love what your mom said, Jared. She said, this is an opportunity. Yeah. See the perspective change there?
That's right.
It's an opportunity. And I love when you guys talk about every day, strong by design. I talk what you guys say is every day we get to choose.
That's exactly right.
That's right. And so I think it's every day, every situation. Am I seeing it as an opportunity or am I seeing it as something I got to get rid of?
And the other piece of that is there's only one person that you can control in a healthy way.
Exactly right.
And that's yourself.
That's it.
Like if you try to control anybody else, you try to, like all of our temperaments have like manipulative attributes where we try to get things out of other people that we have to keep in check. Yep. But in a marriage, when I've done marriage counseling and things like that, I always tell them, because it's really easy to get into that, well, if they would just, or if she would just, or, if this situation would change, it's like, you can't change or controlling it. You can, but it's not going to be healthy.
Exactly right.
That's where like abuse and things can come into play.
Right.
I can control me and I can make changes in me. And then I have to trust that God is big enough.
Exactly.
That he's going to, I love that you said that, hey, if you invest in this, you're going to be blessed by it. And
exactly.
I think that's 100%.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. True. Yeah.
And the lessons are just constantly there. It's just realizing that you're in one. Right. You're in that opportunity.
Which is that perspective.
And I fail over and over and over again, but I try not to beat myself up too much, just knowing like I'm going to have another opportunity, right? Just keep trying. Yeah. Like God's working in you. Mm-hmm. You're asking for that, keep grow me, Lord. Like, help me stay on the narrow path. Help me to surround myself with people who strengthen me and who support me and who, keep me from falling short.
Exactly.
And, I was going to mention a few minutes ago, I just thought of like what a true friend looks like. And I heard an interview not that long ago about a guy who was talking about when people really know you well, like people who really know you and are your best friends, they're the ones that are willing to tell you the tough things and not just stay in that comfort, superficial zone of friendship. They're willing to say, listen, dude, I love you, right? So this, and this maybe is like, this is where you went wrong, or this is what you need to hear right now. But then they can turn right around and then like almost make fun of you and pick on you at the same time. Yeah. And we need more of those people in our lives, whether that's 2 or 3 people. We don't need 10 of them.
Exactly.
But everyone needs to have 2 or 3 people that can really be like, dude.
Right.
And who are those people for you?
Well, for me, I have a pastor. So I think everyone needs a pastor, and I think every pastor needs a pastor. Because what'll happen to any position of authority, you wind up, by default, if you're not deliberate, by default, you'll get people around you that just blow smoke up your shorts.
That's right.
And so what happens, because you're signing their paycheck, you're creating their schedule, whatever the word is. But when you have people in your life that don't care who you are, what you've done, or what you've accomplished, but they care about you as a person, then they not only tell you the truth, but they tell it in a way that you'll receive it. See, that's the key. And so one is my pastor. I have a pastor that I talk to all the time. I'm accountable to him as a man. And then I have 2 guys that have been in my life. We were talking earlier about fishing, how much I love fishing in Colorado, especially.
Is it Lance?
Yeah,
one
Lance.
Of them?
Lance is one of them.
That was a great sermon, by the way, he had a few weeks back.
Oh my gosh, that guy's brilliant.
I really loved it.
Yeah, Lance Witt. His name is Lance Witt. Just knows me. He's not impressed by accomplishments in the past or the future or the present. He cares about me, but he has stuck with me through my bad days.
Yeah. And
hey man, you need to be, this was a couple of months ago. He was listening to a message that I preached, and I'm not his pastor. He travels a lot does a lot of corporate development, different things with churches, outside the church world, right? And he called me, he goes, hey, you doing okay? And I had just talked to him 2 weeks earlier. You doing okay? I said, yeah. He goes, hey, I just listened to a message. I said, yeah. He goes, you sound tired. I was like, dang. He goes, you sound tired. And he goes, well, what am I saying? And we have that relationship. We're intimate with one another. Watch. Yeah. And I go, what am I saying? What words am I using? He goes, it's coming off a little terse. And he knows me, so he knows I'm not a terse guy. So I can be, but I'm not. That's not how I operate normally. Yeah. And I said, okay. And so when I went back, ready? I looked at my calendar. Calendar is going to reveal where your priorities are. Calendar is going to reveal a whole lot about you. Man, I've been running hard.
Yeah.
And then I think it was a couple of weeks ago to the congregation, I told them, I said, guys, we were talking about the end times, everything going on between Israel and Palestine and everything.
Yeah.
And I just said a couple of weeks ago, and I had read a scripture to the church, and I said, I read a scripture, and God stopped me while I was writing and went, read it again. Just read it again. And it was for me. And it was like, I know that you have done really well, but you are tired. And that's the New Living Translation. And so it was like, right, but keep the faith and keep the word. But that trigger was one of the people that I have in my life that look, because why? Because we all have blind spots.
Yeah.
And I'm doing what I believe God's called me to do, that he's gifted me to do. I'm leading, I'm doing, right. I don't have ulterior motives. I'm not building my kingdom. I'm building his kingdom. But in the process of building his kingdom, I'm terse. Well, that's not reflective of Christ, right? So, but you got to have people like that. So it's my pastor. The other one is Lance. One of them is my wife to a certain extent, who sees me in all of my facets all the time. And then I have a guy who's in my life for probably now 25 years. He's a clinical counselor. I was going to him for counseling for me years and years ago. And it just transcended then beyond, hey, I need to make an appointment. I need you to help me unravel a thought, you know, which I think is, by the way, absolutely healthy.
Yes.
But that relationship, his name is Robbie Goss, and he's here in Tampa, and we meet every 4 weeks.
I don't know if refreshing is the right word, but it's got to really feel there's that vulnerability and genuine thing that a lot of us don't feel in our day-to-day conversation. But when you're having when you know someone's not holding back at all and they're 100% being revealing in their thoughts and in their actions, I mean, there's something about that just feels like, wow, man, they trust me that much.
Well, I think
know all that.
That's a great point. I think one of the things that fosters trust the greatest is authenticity. Yeah. And so when I know Jared's being honest with me about, hey man, you're going to a meeting, cool, you got something in your tooth right here. Mm-hmm. I know it sounds trite, but that's who I want around me.
That's right.
And but I also want him to unconditionally love me.
Right.
That's the key.
Right.
And so we were talking about this, having a bet. I like people who are around me close. I'm talking about close.
Yeah.
Who allow me to have a bad day. Mm-hmm. Who all of a sudden the relationship isn't wrecked. All of a sudden we got to redefine. They internalize it. You don't love me. You would have never said that to me like that. Mm-hmm. No, I'm just having a bad day. I want people who are close to me that go, he's just having a bad day. Leave him alone. Or let him have the bad day. Mm-hmm. Let him throw something across the room. Let him
take that opportunity to poke him a little bit.
Exactly right. And then now if it becomes a pattern,
yes.
And that's a different story. That's a different conversation. But come on, I think that's one of the ways I gauge who I allow close. We know whether it's in life, a truism about life, or a proverb in scriptures, right? That who you allow close does affect you. It affects you. Well, I want those people who are close to me to allow me to have a bad day. Just he's having a bad day. Now we have a bad week. That's a whole other deal. But that's what I do. You know what I mean? So it is very freeing for sure.
Turns into months and
turns into years,
and also that's who you are.
That's exactly right. All because somebody wouldn't say.
We call him Pastor Turt.
Right, exactly. Wait, hold on, don't do that. Right.
I have bad moments for sure.
Everybody
generally not always a bad day. I'm usually, what I like to think is, as I've gotten older, I'm quick to realize when I have been a bit of an ass.
Yeah.
That I can turn around and just maybe even apologize or let them know, hey, listen, I'm sorry I was short with you or whatever. I mean, I know I've had those moments with you guys on occasion where it's part of our nature. It's, with everything, it's peaks and valleys. And sometimes it's recognizing those and letting people know that, listen, it's not about you. It's about the moment. It's about this going on. It has nothing it's not even work related. And, still love you and we'll bro hug it out and tears will be shed.
I want to say just based on, I guess I just wanted to say when it comes to being open and vulnerable and having those kinds of relationships with people, you need them, but it doesn't need to be everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's an important piece of it.
Yes.
I think Chris and I are similar in this, where we kind of wear our thoughts and our hearts on our sleeve a little bit, and we want to be best friends with everybody that we come in contact with. Right. And a lot of times that can lead to getting burned. Yep. If you don't know that the person that you're sharing with has your best interest at heart, they can use that information to hurt you or think of you as weak or whatever it might be. And so exactly right. I want to encourage people that you need to find those people because they're absolutely necessary to have in your life.
Exactly right.
But you need to find the right people. And so be prayerful and discerning about that as you're approaching to find those people who work in your life. And I know that probably you've lived life with these people to a degree, so you know each other.
Right.
Exactly. And so you develop into that relationship. You don't just go find, hey, Chris, I just wanted to unload all my baggage to you and hope that, you're going to receive that with love and acceptance and grace.
Exactly right. And that's a great thought, because I think people today are, by default, but not by design, but by default, they are measuring everybody close, right? Because we're even redefining friendship. Now friendship means thumbs up or a tap on a heart on your gram, whatever. So now all of a sudden everybody's a friend.
You didn't like my post.
Right. And what happened? I saw that you liked so-and-so's post, but you didn't like my post.
Yeah.
So we've not only redefining love, but we're in the process of redefining friendships too. And so with that comes the inaccuracy of thinking everybody needs to be close. And you don't see that in scripture, you don't see it with Jesus' life, and it doesn't work in the marketplace either. You know what I mean? And so what I always do is I allow people I want the people close who allow me to have a bad day, but I also will throw out little what I call trust factors, that I'll share a thought with them because I think we're getting closer in the relationship, but I'll share a thought with them. And then I want to see what they do with that thought.
Yeah.
Because if I find out they're talking smack behind my back because, hey, you know what PQ told me the other day? You know what Q told me the other day? I thought he was going to da-da-da-da-da. It's like, dude, you don't share that. Yeah. Then I'm done. And when I say done, I don't write them off. I just go, oh.
Yeah. I can't trust them with that information.
That's all.
That's right.
But I can trust them with something, I can't trust them with that. Yeah. And I think not looking at things in draconian, broad sweeping swoops helps us by going, no, I have to have all kinds of friendships. I have to have the intimate friendships, close bonding. Oh man, that's who I call on my worst day. But I also need the casual relationships of my barista at Starbucks. And, hey man, how are you? Good to see you this morning. But I'm not going to tell him what my 403B looks like now and what I'm investing. I'm not going to. And I think we make that mistake sometimes. So it's a great point.
What the?
My 403 looks great.
Oh, good. Yeah. Well, we can have a conversation off mic.
You guys are really should I let you guys sit together on the love seat? Unbelievable. It's good. I'm glad. We're making friends here today.
That's good. That's why we're here. Friendship.
Go ahead.
Sorry. My other thought was just with this idea of love and acceptance.
Yes.
Is what's the end goal? And a lot of times it's, when we talk about bombing abortions, clinics or whatever, the end goal for them is to win.
Right.
And so that's not the end goal. The end goal is to, bring people to Jesus and leave them there, so that Jesus can do what he needs to do with them. And so I think sometimes when it comes to love and acceptance and defining that and understanding that, we don't keep that end goal in mind, that actually Jesus wants you just as much as he wants me.
Right.
And it's not about winning. And that's true in random relationships. When it comes to political differences, that's true in your marriage.
Exactly.
And that was big. Something that we learned early on in our marriage as well is we always want to be a team, fighting problems together as opposed to fighting each other, trying to win.
Yeah, exactly right.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I wrestle with that. Sometimes I forget my wife and I are a team. Rather than in competition for who's the better parent in the moment or something. And it's a great point. It's like, what is our goal? What's the finish line? The finish line is Jesus.
Yeah.
Right. and that's ultimately where we all want to be. It's who I want to be with. It's who I want to be carried by. There's one set of footprints in the sand. It's because I'm being carried. And to always constantly remind ourselves of that. And it's a wonderful thought. What right now has you jacked up about what the chapel is doing? Yeah. Like, what's something that's on your heart right now, or that you're doing outreach in the community in the area? I
think people ask, the chapel's grown and this, and we're very fortunate. We're very blessed. It's not, to Jesus is to Jesus, it's never about the size of the church. It's about the effectiveness.
That's right.
And so I think the thing that the thing like that motivates me about the chapel and about what we're able and blessed to be able to do in our community is the level of outreach that we do. I grew up in Brooklyn. I grew up in a townhome setting, so I could walk down to the first flat of the second floor, and I could look across out the window and look into the kitchen of my neighbor. So we lived in a community. It was a community. My parents both worked, so I was a latchkey kid. So I would come. Well, my parents wouldn't call me to make sure. This is before cell phones and all that. They'd call my neighbor. Did he get home okay? Was he home? What is he doing? They call in an hour and a half and go, what's he doing? Is the light on in his room? He should be studying. And so my community raised me.
Wow.
In a good way. I don't have any baggage from that, but there's consequences of it. The consequence is, the good one, is I'm a community guy.
Sorry.
Oh, it's all right. I'm a community guy. We were talking about this. Me and Chris were talking about this when we first got here, just catching up, just going, man, it's about being out. I love being out. I love being with people. I love people. I have my limits like everyone else. So what jazzes me is, man, we just do so much stuff. And I'm not bragging. You know what I mean? I'm just, to God be the glory that we get the opportunity, that people get it. We say that your community should look different when a life-giving church is in the community.
Yes.
It should look different. Poverty should go down. Homelessness should go down. Now, those are big things, I get it, but in our little sphere of influence, they should.
Absolutely.
And you should motivate people to serve one another. Why? Because that's what Jesus said. I didn't come to be served, I came to serve. So serve. And it is the biggest proponent of killing self.
Yes.
When you have to inconvenience yourself to do something, you know what happens? It's not about you anymore then. And I think that's the biggest thing that I'm proud of right now is that we have so many. We had our serve day, our holiday serve day. It goes on all month, but we just had a bigger one. And we had 600 serve day volunteers.
That's great.
You know what I mean? Come and just meet every single need we possibly could in aggregating the needs. So I think that's the thing that I'm the most proud of and the thing that motivates me the most.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Service is so key. I had the opportunity, and I've been doing it every year for many years now, to go to the schools for the Great American Teach-In, my kids' schools, and go and talk about what I do here, and what the fitness and health and how important that is, and what that looks like for kids. But I always touch on our core values as a company when I go to these, because it's important for kids, I think, to hear, like, what am I grounded in? What is our business grounded in? And we have 7 core values. I'm not sure if you saw those or not yet, but service is one of the 7. And I talked to the kids yesterday in both classrooms about what service looks like, and making other people more important than yourself, and how valuable that is. And that's really what life is all about. And that's what I love, obviously, about the chapel and about what we're able to do with the podcast, is reaching people that we will never know. Right. And hopefully being a ripple effect in their life for something good, whether they come to Christ by listening to our show, or they're emboldened to do that in someone else's life. And so, I mean, it's just, the paying it forward kind of sentiment. But I think service is one of Jesus's greatest teachings and lessons.
And when you do that, it opens up the heart.
That's right.
It opens up the heart for things. The most effective foreign ministries, foreign missions around the world serve first. They serve first. And then that opens up a relational issue, a relational component to where they're more apt to go, hey, so why are you doing this?
My wife and I always say you have to earn the right to have the conversation. Right. Some people don't like that because they want you to just go stand on the soapbox on the side of the road and let the seed fall where
the
it
truth
falls.
People, just the truth people.
Which, I mean, I'm not going to put God in a box. God can do what he wants to do.
Exactly.
But at least, again, kind of tying it back to love and respect, right? If you're going to love someone, love them as a human being. Right. And earn that right to have the opportunity to have that conversation. The best example, can I give a quick example?
Of course you can.
I'm going to give a quick example.
Oh, gosh.
So
make it quick.
I'm putting my...
We're on the clock.
I'm going to put my mom up on a pedestal again.
Oh, Mom.
I had a teacher growing up, and my mom was part of the school board because it was a charter school.
Nice.
And she hired her. And so they kind of developed a friendship. And when she was hired, she had 2 kids. She was married. She ended up getting divorced, and then came out as a lesbian. And so she lived her life with her partner. Her partner ended up dying, but my mom stayed friends with her the whole time. Invited her to church, and said, hey, I know that you're going through a hard time. Your partner just died. Why don't you come to church? And, we want to support you and be around you. And my mom never preached to her, never did anything, just loved on her. Right. She ended up starting to ask my mom questions like, hey, I'm starting to question this lifestyle. What would you say to that? And she said, she spoke truth to her. She said, hey, I don't believe that's how God designed it. Right. We all have our struggles. I care about you as a person, but no, I don't think that's a godly lifestyle. Right. This lady now has turned around her perspective. Right. She now goes to gay pride parades and evangelizes the people, and and she'll still say, my tendencies inside, I'm attracted to women. Sure. But I recognize that that's not God's design, and I want to live life God's way. And so it's just one of those things where it was through the friendship and through the relationship that God was able to speak into her life. Right. And it wasn't well, you got to do this. And, you know,
Right,
if
right.
you, you know, it was just very soft and genuine. And it was, it was a course of 15, 20 years
Sure.
of friendship.
Of just loving.
Of just loving.
Right.
Being salt and light, you
That's
know,
exactly
and
right.
that's it. Yeah.
And so it's one of my favorite stories of that concept of earn the right to have the conversation,
right.
love the person for being a human being,
Right.
give them decency and respect, and allow the Holy Spirit to open the door when the door needs to be opened. And the Bible says, be ready to have an answer when they have the question.
Right.
It doesn't say go throw it at everybody first.
Right, exactly.
That's
We
great.
say it. We say, you know, a lot of when I teach a lot of leadership stuff, I always say you have to earn the right to have followers.
Yes.
You know, whether it's your.
If we get one more, then we can have like a trifecta of you got to earn the right of one more thing.
One more, right? Earn the right to. Right. I love that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that's important because I think people automatically think because I know blank, you should trust, you should follow, you should listen. And the reality is that's not the way culture works.
Right.
And it's not the way actually Jesus designed the earth. It's if you're going to gain influence with people, you need to figure out how to love them appropriately and serve them exceptionally. I mean, and that's really what we've done at the church. You know what I mean? And I think people see that. I think the church world right now is suffering from more. I just think people want. I say this, and it could come off as weird, even for me as a pastor. You know, is. People are tired of messages. You can go on YouTube. You can go on, you can find the greatest communicators in the world, non-religious or religious, doesn't matter. It's Christian, non-Christian, doesn't matter. I think people they need a model now. They need a model instead of a message. They need what's the model? You know what I mean? And I'm not saying we got a lot of flaws, you know, pimples and warts, but I think it's just time to just be who you are, who God created you by design, instead of defaulting to what I want.
What I think.
What I think, what I want. You know what I mean? And that's why you got to earn the right to have, you know, followers in that sense.
great.
You know,
I think church staff would all benefit from working at a hotel for like a year. And just so we just had Lee Cockerell, who he worked at like Marriott, and you know he did a lot of. He was in charge of like the Disney World Resort and stuff like that.
Right.
But you know, just his philosophy on managing was all about the person. You know, and
Kind of
all
like
about
Horst Scholes
100%.
from the Ritz-Carlton. We had him on a year ago.
Exact same thing.
The president of the Ritz-Carlton.
Yeah.
And he started from the ground up as a kid working in the hotel industry.
Right.
And it was seeing everybody as ladies and gentlemen, and you yourself are a lady or a gentleman.
And he says the same thing.
No matter what role you play in the hotel.
You're not too high not to pick up the trash off the ground.
Exactly
You know,
right.
kind of idea.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
Yeah, and so
I always say that too. I always say it because why? Because that's my experience. I didn't grow up in church per se, and I didn't grow up in ministry, professional ministry. I grew up in the marketplace. So it was like a lot of church pastors or leaders, you know, they need to go on to what I would call the marketplace side for a little bit.
Yeah.
Not because they're disingenuous, not because they're not hard workers. It just gives you a different perspective, you know what I mean, about what people have to go through who you're trying to influence and have follow whatever vision God has given your particular church or organization. It's just a healthy. I think anytime that you can widen your perspective without causing moral failure, let's say, widen your perspective is always going to increase your empathy to people you're trying to reach. You know what I mean? I don't know how hard it is to tone your body to the certain extent of your diet and your military presses, your bench presses, your curls. I don't know. However, if I train for a month and a half like that and I stop, I'm going to have a newfound what? Empathy, respect, insight when I'm dealing with you, Chris. You see what I'm saying? You know, not that I wouldn't deal with you, Jared, but I mean, physically, there's a difference. I'm just saying in a sense of just in a loving way. Although a very loving person.
I'm very
you're
lean.
lean?
Yes.
Exactly.
You know, my I don't remember. I got nothing.
No, I got nothing. I'm done.
Yeah.
But you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
I mean, all of a sudden I'm relating. I have another
Yeah.
friend because this guy does it every day. I did it for 3 weeks. I thought I was going to faint every other minute.
That's right.
But now I have a newfound respect. I have a new side empathy. I have a new sense of understanding. Paul tells the Corinthian church, live with one another in an understanding way. Mm-hmm. Understand, ready? The bad days. People close, they let you have bad days. They don't let you have bad weeks or months. That's different, right? But they live with you in an understanding. Hey, they just had a baby. They're not sleeping. Like you were talking about my granddaughter just born. Gia and the kid. We do the big Italian dinner every Sunday. Every Sunday after church. I take my little holy nap. I wake up.
Yes.
Whole family, all my
Love the
kids,
Sunday nap.
their dog. Oh gosh,
Good
their
for you.
dogs, their pets, everybody's over. Mama's been cooking since 1 o'clock, the whole deal. And my son was just terse, just snappy. And I could have went Brooklyn on him easy. You know what I mean? But I'm like, just hey, and I just touch him on the shoulder and I go, hey, I got it. Relax. Very nice, very casual. And then I punched him in the face. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, then I'm just totally kidding.
Like every dad.
because every dad wants to do.
do.
Some should do. But anyway, and then I just said, hey, just live with one another in an understanding way. You know what I mean? So, but anyway, so cool. Good. Yeah, that's awesome. I love it.
There's and I have rapid fire questions here for you, which is going to be fun. But there was it's an old fable or whatever about the sun and the wind having an argument about who was more powerful. And so there was a person that was their target, let's say, and they were going to try and get them to take their coat off. And so the wind blew and blew and blew to try and force this coat off this person. And all the person did was pull the coat around them even tighter. And then the sun, with its mighty warmth, let out its full power.
Right.
And the person loosened their coat and started to unbutton it and then took it off because it was the warmth and the light radiating from the sun that brought out, got the result it was after, not the coarse, the wind blowing, the temperament of the wind. Right. It was that warmth and that's, I got to remember it's bringing my wife that kind of summer energy from me, that warmth, inviting, kind, radiating energy is what's going to get the result that I'm after, not that coarse, rough, tough side.
I think recognizing too, and tying it back to that we don't have that in us most of the time. It has to be Christ in you.
That's right.
I pray that all the time. I say, God, love my wife through me, is a prayer, because I'm like, when I try to do it, it ends up me like, I want to love her in order to, sometimes it becomes selfish. And so having that kind of perspective of recognizing,
powerful for sure.
Hey, God, love her through me and help me to love her the way that you would love her, as opposed to, which is, I love that. What a great analogy.
Yeah, no, it's good. And I need to hear it often. That's why I read my devotional, my Kingdom Man, Tony Evans devotional every morning as a supplement to my Bible, because there's nothing that takes the place of the Bible and Scripture, but I love the perspective that he has on things that are all Scripture based.
He's great.
He's just a wonderful,
great insight.
He really is. So, okay, here's the fun part. I know we started kind of fun and loosey goosey. Now we're going back to it to wrap things up. So 5 fun questions, and you have no idea what these are, which is fun.
It's just scary.
It's scary.
We have editing ability.
We do. All right, number.
He doesn't cut anything out, but it is possible.
Encouraging.
We're raw here. We let it all hang out. Okay. We know you're a foodie.
Yeah.
It says so on your Instagram page, so we know it's true. Yeah. What is your favorite, last meal or best favorite meal? Sit down, what do you want?
It's the last meal that I want. Italians call it sauce. So it's pasta, it's red sauce, marinara, right, with a ton of meat. And I'm going to give you the meat. What it is. It's called braciole.
Yeah.
It's called braciole. It's the rolled up little, almost like flank steak with cheese in the middle of it. And it's been baked and it's been soaking. and there's 2 of those because you got little strings around it to keep it rolled up.
Oh, of course.
To keep it cooking. And then you got to have a couple of meatballs. But the meatballs are made with breadcrumbs inside, so they're a little heavier. And I know this is weird, but ready? Raisins. That's a real Italian thing. That's the sweetness. There it is. Dude, I'm done. It's over. It's,
a little bread with that too?
you're going to have bread because that comes, it's natural.
All right, okay.
I don't need the oil. I don't need the herbs. Just give me the bread. Got to have a little butter. But then on the top, you got to have a dollop. You got to have a dollop of ricotta. It's called ricotta.
There you go.
Some people call it ricotta.
Right.
However,
we know
that's
what
American. It's ricotta. And you put on that right on the top. That's the last meal. That's it. Now, Jesus, take me home. That's it. I'm good.
I love it. I'm ready. I'll eat that. My stepdad's an Italian guy, and I grew up eating a lot of these foods.
Oh yeah, man.
That I never knew of. And
meatballs and raisins.
He grew up with
meatballs
absolutely.
and raisins.
And there's sweet sauce. There's all kinds of different stuff.
There's sweet sausage.
And then
there's regular sausage, sweet sauce. It's a thing.
When we were in Iowa, they had
Iowa. Is that where you're from?
No, I'm from Colorado.
I was going to say Colorado.
No,
okay.
I was pastoring in Iowa.
Okay.
And they had pineapple sausage.
No. See,
It was awesome.
It was awesome.
It was so good.
No, I'm sure it is. Once.
No,
You cannot live a lifestyle with pineapple sausage.
Never mind. It wasn't sausage. It was.
He got
now
it
you're lying.
wrong.
Well, no. What's the big hot dog?
A big hot.
It's not a hot dog. They're not sausages though.
Like why it's not coming to me right now?
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying.
It's not a sausage. And it's not a hot dog.
Like you would get in a big sub roll, like a big thing like that with like peppers and onions on it. What are you talking about?
No.
Oh, bratwurst?
Yeah, bratwurst.
Oh,
okay.
But it's not even Italian. It's stinking German.
Yeah, it's German.
Yeah, but it has pineapple in it.
See, well, not. Okay,
Germans, Hawaiians, all
Been
mixed
fun,
together.
guys.
It's been fun.
I'll see you next time.
Well,
He's just being.
I'll handle these last.
He's just
four on
being
my
a
own.
grace grower.
He is.
You're
welcome.
Fine.
I'm here to help.
I'm telling you, he's good at it. All right, I know you're a baseball guy too.
I'm
So am
baseball.
I.
All right.
I've been coaching my son for years, and I love huge. Who are your teams? Baseball and give us football too. While you're at it.
So I'm a hometown guy, so I'm a big Rays fan.
Okay,
because
good.
I appreciate the hometown guys.
Good.
I gotta love that. But I grew up a Met fan.
Okay,
I grew up
I did
Mets.
too.
Yeah, I grew up in Brooklyn. So more Brooklyn people were Mets, and then the Bronx was obviously the Yankees.
Yes.
We call them the Evil Empire.
Evil Empire.
So for me, it was always Mets. And I was, because I'm older, I went to games at Shea Stadium.
Yes,
we
me
do
too.
$8 bleacher tickets and then wait till about the third or fourth inning because they were horrible. And then you just sneak down.
Yeah.
And all the ushers, they didn't care.
They didn't care.
So we loved it. So it's the Mets and the Rays. And then I am a Bucks fan, but because of my background, I'm a Giants fan too.
Gosh, that's my team.
Yeah, so it's awesome.
I'm a rare
guys.
breed, though, to be a Met. I was
Rough
a
year.
Met fan growing up, and
Right.
I bet right now we could probably name 20 guys on the 86 Mets
Oh my
team
gosh,
together.
yeah, for sure.
But I also a Giants fan because
Yeah.
of my stepdad. So he's
funny.
Yankees Giants.
Yes, right.
But I grew up going to Shea Stadium with my dad and my brothers. And became a Giants fan because of my stepdad years later.
Nice.
And so, but I become a
But
huge
typically
Ray.
it's Mets and Jets.
Right.
Typically
That's
it's Mets
why
and
it's
Jets.
so
but-
kind of
but it's-
twisted.
Yeah, it is a little twisted.
So that's good
We
to
need
know.
counseling, but it's okay. We're
A
healthy.
little light counseling for that. Who in your life cracks you up the most? Who gets that smile on your face
Yeah.
whenever you hang out with them, or you long to be with them because you need it?
Okay, so it's people I know then.
Somebody that you know who cracks you up the
right.
most, and you could tell me who you don't know who cracks you up.
Well, I can tell you just somebody. I love the way he writes comedy. I love Seinfeld.
Oh, yes,
So I'm a
absolutely.
big Seinfeld writer guy. He writes for a lot of different things.
Yeah, he
but
does.
of course, the sitcom is
Jerry's
classic.
great. Did you ever see the cars with coffee and the something? Did you watch any
Listen,
of that? Those
awesome.
are great.
Absolutely incredible.
Do you ever see any of those? So good.
Yeah, what is it? Coffee with?
Coffee
comedians or something?
Coffee and comedians and cars or something
and
like that.
He rents different cars.
nuts.
And they go and they just sit
So
somewhere
good.
and drink
the
coffee.
only thing that made me a little depressed about that, I know this is terrible. This is why I'm in counseling. Is because when I saw it, it was a YouTube deal. It was always, I think it was somewhere else, but I found it on YouTube. Watched it. It's been out for a while.
Yeah, it's on
But
Netflix too.
I realized, oh man, Jerry's gotten old.
Yeah.
And I was just like, whoa. So that means, dear Lord, how old am I?
Right.
And so it made me a little like, wah, wah.
Yeah.
But however, beautiful and wonderful.
Yeah,
And
he's
then
touring with
I think
Jim Gaffigan.
what'd you
Yes,
say?
he is. Him and Gaffigan are together touring,
Oh, my
which has
gosh.
got to be amazing. Gotta
He's
be.
so funny. And then I think people like in my life that make me laugh is, believe it or not, is that there's a team of people that report to me at our organization, which is a church, and all of them, they all have something that are around my table that I meet with. I meet with them every 3 days, 4 days about something, and they're just funny people. They have a very funny perspective, so different than mine. So I think my team is around me all the time.
Because if we're not laughing, doing what we love,
the Bible says like a good medicine.
Yeah.
You know,
and if they would go and give this show 5 stars.
If the entire church would
those people
5 stars, guys. Otherwise, we're going to open up our own Baskin Robbins.
I love
because I love ice cream.
We have room.
I love ice cream.
If we don't get 5 stars?
If we don't. I mean, this is off the airwaves.
This could be, I mean, maybe you just tanked us. If
Maybe
they really want a Baskin Robbins.
Maybe I was being prophetic. You know, I'm going to have to come work at Strong by Design.
Yeah.
We do love our ice cream around here, especially Mike.
Yeah.
Mike walks
Michael.
around just eating ice cream sometimes.
Straight out the bucket.
He'll be really upset that I just said
So
that.
hygienic.
Yeah, I've been out here working out before, and he's walked out with someone's almost finished Carvel birthday cake, saying, "I don't think he wants any more of it." It's like, "Oh, what do you think, man?"
That's real community. That's real community.
That's real
right.
community. Okay, bucket list item. I feel like it's probably fishing related, but might not. Bucket list item not yet checked off that you want.
Going to hometown.
Going to hometown. Oh, I like that. For me, I'm already on it. My bucket list concept is I want to be at every baseball stadium.
Okay.
So I have my little Pinterest thing in my office of the United States. We're at all the stadiums. And I'm about, believe it or not, I'm about 3/4 of the way through.
Oh my gosh.
There are a couple that I try to make one trip a year. We talked about it. I take off part of the summer every year.
Yeah.
And I try to center it around, okay, what stadium? And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But that's my bucket list. I want to finish that. Yeah. I want to be at every baseball stadium.
Have you been to Coors Field?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
dude,
That's
incredible. Sat two different places. Sat good seats, first mezzanine, and then sat in the rock pile.
Yeah.
Which is you have to.
You got
it's
to.
It's just classic, beautiful background, Coors Field. You know, with the mountains and the way the sun sets there, it'd be great. And then my favorite ballpark is Camden Yards.
Really?
It would have been Shea, sure, but it's no longer Shea, now it's City Field.
Yeah,
but,
that's right.
But Camden Yards for me, the history, the layout, the way the food is laid, because I'm a foodie. So that's a big deal. So the way the food is laid out in Camden Yards, outside right field, classic. Wow. So good. Yeah, I love it.
That's awesome. Good answer.
I like that you just connected food and baseball
Yeah,
together.
of course.
And that's how you
They're
kick
all
stuff
the
off.
two-
You know?
What makes baseball games so much better is
Exactly
what you're
right.
eating while you're watching. The fifth question here,
Yeah.
the song, because you're also a musical guy.
Yeah.
The song that fires you up. And it could be at
This
church,
is a
it could
tough
be
one,
in your car. Is there something that, I'm sure you have 10 of them, but.
I think right now is the Brandon Lake song "Gratitude."
Yeah, it's great.
It's really,
He's amazing.
It really does move me right now.
Yep.
You know, maybe because of the season of life I'm in or something I'm going through. That's how that's the power of music, right? And then, believe it or not, I mean, I know it's probably corny to say, I'm a massive Beatles fan because groundbreaking, the harmonies, and just some of the musicianship. But I listen probably to the Beatles every day.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy? I wish I could say, a good pastor would say I listen to worship music every day. But and I do, maybe. But I can tell you I will listen to something Beatles every day.
Yeah.
And then I listen to a lot of music that some would say a pastor should not listen to. But I'm good with that for right now.
Yeah.
Is there a Beatles song in particular that
Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Really
I just think the
doesn't-
way they write, the melodies, the catchy melodies, the chord arrangements, and then for me, it's also the harmonies.
Wow.
I probably listened to records. Their third record, it's called Rubber Soul, and it was way before any of like the Beach Boys harmonies that Brian Wilson is really known for. They were doing it a little bit before them, and just the harmonies on that record, sick, just unbelievable.
I learned something. I think it was a book I was reading. Yeah, it was a book I was reading. Which was called Outliers. I think Maxwell. A great book. Anyway, but he talks about what made the Beatles so special and so unique. it was because they took over the world because of their playing together live for like a year straight, almost every night. I don't know if it was in Amsterdam or wherever they were at the time. And it was in the early 60s. And they were given this opportunity to play music live almost nightly for about a year straight. And that's what really solidified them as such a great band. Musically, is like you play live every day with your guys, you're going to get good.
It just becomes intuitive after a while. We know this. You guys working together here at the organization, whatever organization any of our listeners are, it's this when you work together every day, there's going to be some sort of flow that happens.
That's right.
Hopefully, that's what makes a strong team is the flow and knowing each other's weaknesses, strengths. So I believe that for sure.
Yeah, reps.
You can tell.
Putting in the reps.
Gosh. Oh yeah, man.
That was great. Well, thank you so much. It's really just a pleasure to be in your company and to have you on the show.
It would have been better if Jared would have not talked so much. I just think I felt like
I'm so sorry.
I felt.
You have a mute button. I should have muted myself.
He does have
this fancy.
You just gave my wife firepower.
That whole board there with all these colorful lights is sort of intimidating.
I have no idea what any of it does.
I don't think anyone does.
Yeah.
No,
but they put Jared next to it.
I just got it. I'm a big Christmas fan, and
that's why this only looks like
Christmas. Looks like Christmas. This has been really an absolute pleasure.
I had such a great time with you guys. It was so much fun.
Yeah.
So much fun talking and hanging, learning from each other.
It's been great.
Just telling each other's stories, and
that's right.
I just think that's one of the richest for me. It's not for everybody. I'm a little bit of an extrovert, but for me, that's to me the thing that gives me a lot of gas throughout the day. And does that sound weird? Gas?
No.
Not mean gas like gas.
I know what you mean.
I mean, right. Fuel. There's the better word. Fuel, because I speak for a living. Fuel is hearing people's stories.
Yep.
I love, especially hearing the stories of how God transformed them, changed their perspective, or grew them in a way that they thought was going to be horrible and detrimental. But through that, I learned. I love all that. So that's why I love the podcast so much. And so, man, I love you. Thanks for having me.
Been wonderful. You have your own podcast.
It's fun.
It is fun.
I think it's fun.
It's mostly just you and Brad.
That's all it is, me and Brad. And it's called Just Lead.
Yep.
And if we subscribe to the belief that leadership is influence, then we are all leading somewhere and leading people all the time.
Yes.
And so we just talk straight up just leadership, whether it's in the marketplace, whether it's in professional ministry, or in our homes, leading ourselves. So it's just all leadership. Just lead.
It's great,
I think.
And people can learn more about the chapel by going to thechapel.cc,
That's it,
right?
Chapel.cc, the website there. And then you can find out information, service times, what we're doing, what's happening at the church. So it's always fun.
It's a wonderful church environment. Musically, it doesn't get any better than what you guys are doing with worship music to start every service. Pastor Jay, obviously Mason's been a great addition since he came over.
Yeah, it's been awesome.
Is that a requirement at the chapel? Is that you can only have one initial as your pastor?
Correct.
Pastor Jay.
That's what we're doing.
Well, Kyle doesn't go by K.
No, we call him PK.
Oh, you do call him PK. That's true. That is PK.
That's how we vet leadership there.
Check.
If your name cannot translate to either one, maybe two initials, you got to go work somewhere else.
And if that initial's gone already, then you're out.
If it's
you're out. You're short-lived.
Your name starts with a J. There's no staffing at.
That's right. You have no chance.
Q.
You have no chance of going to the chapel.
Oh, that's sad, Jared.
Sorry, Jared.
Can't go.
It's already taken.
That's all right.
Yeah, hey, it's your guys' rules.
You talk too much anyway.
I know I do. I'm
always talk.
I don't know how
he
you
could
do
lead.
it.
He could lead one of them connect groups.
I don't know. Oh gosh,
he could.
Nobody go. They'd go in the beginning,
go.
and then he'd be like, "I love Jared, but man, he talks a lot.
He talks way too much." Yeah.
Which I'm used to. Trust me, I'm used to hearing that. Would have been. It was a great message the first 15 minutes.
Yeah. That was the last 45 that really lost me.
I don't know. I was painting my garage in my mind.
I've heard that so much from my own life. Yeah. It's like you had something good to say, and then you just kept talking.
You know what's hilarious is Trish, a couple couldn't be more opposite. She'll just, because I talk. That's what I get paid to do, right? I talk. It's what God wants me to do, right? So we'll be talking or whatever, and she'll just take her finger and just put it on my lips. She's like, I'm good.
Yeah. I don't need you.
No, I'm good. Or I get up super early. So she'll get up a little bit later, but still early. But I'm up early. And I'm in the middle of my day now. So she gets up. I'm 3 hours in, brother. I'm rocking. Let's go. and I start, and she'll go, no, hold on. Shh. See, bring
Love
people close that understand you, but they also have a good boundary.
Yes.
Of going, sweetheart, I love you, but I can't. It's too many words.
Yeah.
It's too many.
It's great.
People
I'm going to
say-
start doing that with my daughter.
People say
I
that
thought
on
I
staff
talked a lot.
People say that on staff all the time. I'm like to. I know this is so misogynistic what I'm about to say, but I'm the girl because I love this. I love the only thing that would make this right now better is if we had just a little croissant, a little coffee, a little something. That, hey, you want a piece? That kind of thing. But I love it. Whereas my wife, who's massive introvert, loves people though, but has a lower threshold. You know what I mean? Will just be like, baby. Shh, wow. No, shh, thank you. No,
That's exactly how my marriage works. It's 100% true. My wife likes people, but select group, and she's like, that's why we work, because I'm the gregarious, fun-loving out there. I bring her out of her shell, but then some point she's like, honey, I got to reel you back in.
It's time to go home.
And Jared, actually, his wife's the extrovert.
Oh, yeah.
No way. Really?
Heavy duty. It's basically like me.
Yeah.
With long hair.
Wow.
And 4
very,
kids.
very, very much. Yeah.
Then we stole a lot. Listen, I know this is silly, but because it's Christmas time. One of our favorite Christmas movies is Four Christmases.
Oh, yeah, it's great.
So funny.
Vince Vaughn.
Great. Reese Witherspoon.
Yes.
Great. Classic, right?
Great film.
Well, we stole a concept from them. When we go places, when we know we can go together and leave together. Sometimes you can't do that all the time. But when we know that, we have like in the movie, they had a secret word.
You have to have an escape word.
Mistletoe.
Yeah.
We have a word. We'll think of a word going, we don't know. Let's feel it out. We don't know how long we're going to stay. We want to be there. We just don't know how long we can be there. You know what I mean? Without getting weird, without getting, or we're tired, whatever it is. So we'll come up with a word, and then we'll just look at each other and just like, hey, mistletoe. And then we got to go.
Yeah. Did we get our milk? Did we remember to buy milk?
That's right. That's right.
Did we let the dog out before we left?
That's right. We got to.
Did we
It's a word or a question.
Did we shut the coffee pot off? What do we do? Right? Whatever it is, but that's it. Classic. We do it all the time.
That's great.
We're giving away the secrets. Now the church is going to think like, no wonder why he left early.
That's right.
I can't help it.
They started talking about groceries, and then they were gone.
Something about toes. They're
He's
weird.
okay. We'll pray for him.
That's
Pray for
exactly. I always tell the church when they get a real pastor, that place will take off. I'm just I'm just warming the seat. I'm just
Warming it
the
up.
seat.
You've been warming it up for many years now.
Pumping the prime.
It's a blessed place, and I'm so happy to be part of it. And we thank you so much for all that you're doing for the kingdom.
Thanks for having me, man.
And Jared, thank you for joining me.
Jared, such a joy
Today.
Yeah.
Jared the joyful.
Yeah, I'll just.
Oh, yeah. Well, now that you brought it up, we'll talk about it later.
That's right.
It's
Yeah.
a lot of
I
work.
knew this conversation would be better if I had a co-host.
See?
And it was.
See that? See, that's why I tell Brad all the time on our podcast. I just like, Brad, this would tank if it was just me. He's like, really, you think? And I went, I'm just trying to make you feel good. We'd be fine.
Yeah.
So good. Well, good, man.
Yeah.
Awesome. Did we
We did
get
it.
everything you wanted to cover?
Oh,
and
we
stuff?
got it
sure?
all and more.
We good?
In
All right, good.
spades.
I wanna
It's
make
good.
sure I wanna
And
serve you
we'll
guys.
wrap it up, and we'll go get you some T-shirts.
Oh, yeah. I want to serve you guys well. So, I mean,
You did.
if we covered everything you guys wanted,
we
I'm
did.
golden, man.
We're great.
Good time.
Couldn't
Fun.
be better.
All right, me and Batman, we're about to do a workout.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, he's ready. He's been ready for an hour and a half,
And
standing there
without
looking
my
at us.
Spanx on, that's what my stomach
That's what
looks
you
like.
look like. I believe
Well,
it.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
6'3".
6'3". Yeah.
When I'm wearing my
Flat stomach,
armor, it
six
looks
pack.
like that too.
Yeah, if I take my, I always tell people, if I take my, because it helps my back.
Yeah.
But if you were to rip the Spanx that I wear, it would be like, those croissants, those Pillsbury croissants that you bang on the side of the counter,
and they
Yeah.
That's what it would be like if you took my Spanx off.
Like that's
you just. Yeah, people would be like, "What?"
that. I don't necessarily want that image in my head.
Was Pastor
necessarily.
Q here? He's just like,
I think I just got some PQ on me. It's unbelievable.
Which is also in our neuro
That's right,
supplement.
PQQ.
Oh, I like
PQQ's in
that.
there. Yeah, it's
That's
a
awesome.
whole nother conversation. Strong by Design listeners, thank you so much for being here, for finding our show, for sharing it with a friend or a family member. We thank you in advance for doing that, and we'll be back next Wednesday or Saturday, depending on when you're finding. I don't even know at this point. We're so far out.
Aaron,
I have a couple of questions.
I'm podcasting with Aaron tomorrow.
Aaron who?
Yeah, I don't remember her last name, but she wrote a book called Something in Wonder. It's about finding God in creation.
Oh, no way. Okay, I like it. Who's the guest who's been back more than once?
I've had, do you know who Frank Turek is? Christian apologist?
Oh, yeah.
Dr. Frank Turek.
Okay,
I've had him on 4 times over the last 5-6 years.
Okay.
But
cool.
Are you hoping for?
No, I mean, I'm very competitive.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, okay, Frank's
so
might be out of my league. That's like me and Derek Jeter. So I get it.
All right.
So leave him. Give me some. Yeah, I don't want to be a one-time.
No, we'll do
Charlie.
this again. Probably, maybe in this building, but definitely in our
maybe in the new facility. It'd be
when
nice
that
if I
happens. Christened
the new facility.
I like that.
We could do that.
You reserve
but I don't
that
want to
spot.
pressure you because now I feel
no
like now that I
pressure.
mentioned it,
No.
you're going to do it out of obligation instead of like, remember, I'm relational.
I would like to do this. This is something I'd
Okay,
very much
now
like
the
to
next
do.
step is this.
I'm just glad you're already thinking about the next one.
I had
I mean,
such a good time.
We did something right.
I feel like it's far enough out. We should probably have you on like at least one more time before that.
That'd be nice.
Just because
I was actually
we
going
got
to
to
say
build up
maybe
momentum.
just me and you, Chris, but now that Jared invited himself,
He's kind of in on it now.
I said on the show, I don't have to be present.
right? Okay.
No, I'd love for you to be
Don't
part.
say that. We want you.
It
here.
wouldn't feel right now.
Yeah, exactly.
If it was just us.
Well, apparently he didn't get the memo.
That's right.
You know what I mean? That is only. You're
I
good.
actually set up for the podcast today, and Chris is like, "Why are there 3 seats in microphone?"
Very self-conscious. That's so wrong.
I'm just kidding. That didn't happen.
They
I
love
don't know,
you.
did you?
Stop.
Yeah.
Listen, stop. They love you.
All right, we're gonna go. We got to go eat some croissant.
Let's eat something. I need coffee. If I don't have food every 3 hours, I turn into a Brooklyn beast.
We got grass-fed beef sticks and like some protein
Let me
bars.
tell you what I want.
And
Just in
protein
case.
cookies.
Protein cookies. We
Okay.
do.
All right. I forgot how healthy you guys are. Okay, that's cool.
Sorry, Anna.
No, I
It's
mean, I'll
nothing
eat it.
exciting.
They're not actually
Listen, when I
healthy.
eat
That's
healthy
just what
food
they're
right now, I
called.
got to go to the bathroom right away. That's not a good sign.
It's like, get out of me, get out of
1
me.
hour.
What are you doing?
1 hour.
What are you doing?
The 1 hour test.
This has been the strangest exit of the podcast that I've ever had. There's no question about it. This is
I'm
good.
so upset.
Yeah.
Right
I hope
now.
everybody's
I thought we were gonna
enjoyed
have
it.
food.
It's like comedic time. I love it.
Okay.
Thank you. God bless you. We will see you on the next episode. We'll see you.
The trouble is because we had the pastor on. And the
He's
pastor's
not-
always like, all right, in conclusion. And then it's another 45
And one
minutes.
more thing. Did you get everything out of that we were hoping for? Thank you so much for listening to the Strong by Design podcast. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe so that more people can find out about our show. Plus, you don't want to miss any future episodes with the amazing guests and topics we have lined up for you.